welcome to the C.S. Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, Samwise, and today I'm going over a request from the man himself, C.S. Joseph. Uh, how can an INTP UDUF octagram be inevitable? And I, I am an INTP UDUF, and this kind of came about from our octagram session and me asking about my sister. And I guess part of the spoiler for the octagram process is how we go over basically your upbringing and heritage and the people that had an influence on your life. And during that process, we found out that my brother is an ESTP, my mom an ENFJ, and my dad an ISTP. All three of those are Templars. They all use extrovert feeling, introverted thinking, as well as extrovert sensing, introverted intuition. And I had another family member, my little sister, who I had a hard time typing. And I eventually, with the intention of, hey, I want to bring more anecdotal evidence about, other family members, I made a little list of things that my sister did and does and talks about. And I was like, hey, CSJ, do you mind verifying? And he was like, that's an INFJ. My four family members were each of the four Templars. No, none of these are mistaken. It really is that, and I think it shows, quite frankly, with a little bit more of the rough nature of us as kind of a family. Like, we never really had a lot of, I don't know, I don't think posh is the right word, but like, the siblings and I, we greet each other with middle fingers, telling each other to F off, and we just laugh the entire time. So it's a lot more rough, and I like it that way. But going into detail on each of the family members that I have, I've got, my mom, she's an ENFJ, and, that's pretty cool with extrovert sensing child, introverted sensing child, kind of that mix and hang around. And my mom, I like to joke around that I'm her favorite kid, because it's kind of obvious my dad's favorite kid is my older brother. But yeah, so it's kind of nice having that dynamic there, where it's like my mom really likes quality time, and that's like a big thing for extrovert sensing child, is that they want quality time. And I play cards with her and go on walks and stuff like that. But yeah, she says a lot of, affiliative things. Like, she always talks about gender a lot. Like, oh, I'm not just a dumb girl. I can put a nail on a wall and hang a picture. It's like, yeah, mom, your ISTP side of the mind is going buck wild right now. Good for you, man. And, I try to, every time she gets like a furniture project, it's kind of like, it's nice seeing her get excited about that she did it herself. And then there's my ISTP dad, who we get in we never had a great relationship where it was like very close, because we're both like very responding. Like, most of the time we just sit there, and if I'm not like obsessed with like World of Warcraft, we really don't have a whole lot to talk about. Both of us working the same job helps a bit, but it's definitely very surface level, and I try to help his extrovert feeling inferior when I can. Um, like, with the mentor stuff, like I try to have him help me out with, like building projects, but sometimes it can get kind of annoying. Like, most of the time when I ask, like, hey, can I get help building something? He's like, it's cheaper to buy it. And it's just like, Dad, that's not the point. This is me trying to learn how to build things. So, unfortunately, I have to do it on my own. But, there's something that I can get help with, and that's good. I try to help my family push her towards her aspiring functions when I can. But yeah, and I don't know. He gets annoyed when he like gives me advice and help, and I don't do it, because it's like, well, why are you asking for me if you're not gonna do it? And it's like, input, Dad, input. I want input, not process. But that's another story. Um, and then there's my ESTP brother. And I I could not have a better brother, man. Like, the Tate brothers look weak compared to me and my brother, man. And I I admire him greatly. Um, he I talk about him a lot, and I'll probably save it for some of the other videos. Like, I have an ESTP video coming out soon that I think will kind of give light into why I respect him, and I'm just intrigued by him. But we definitely have a very cool relationship, kind of built on like just admiring each other. Like, he's a very charismatic and yeah, just a very charismatic guy, and like I like seeing him like at like band events because he's like a punk rock person. Look up the band Superbike. My favorite song of theirs that they have a video out for is "I Hate My Friends," and it's cool seeing him at these live events, and he's just talking to everybody, and he's just like so charismatic, and it's just like, God dang, I want that. My Effie inferior wants to be that man, and it's like, he himself like admires my like almost introverted, like gluttonous pursuit of knowledge, and he's just like, dude, you're so smart, man, and you're like so dedicated. I disagree, but he thinks that way, and that's cool, I guess. And it's just like this back and forth of like, you're the greatest, no, you're the greatest, and it's just like, yeah, it's really nice. And then there's my INFJ sister, which I'm not gonna lie, INFJs trigger the heck out of me when they tell me how to live my life. I should have known she was extrovert sensing this entire time. Like, I like half thought in my head, but it's like she non-stop talks about her freaking boyfriend all the time. Like, I've met the man 4 times and I know more about him than I know about my little sister. And it's just like, please get a personality. I don't know who you are anymore. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Character temple. Where's their personality, man? That's fine, I guess. And she also does the thing that my mom does, where it's like, I got my big girl job. I'm at an office desk and I'm doing the right thing. And it's just like, yeah, you are. I like my factory job. I like saying whenever I want to. But yeah. And also, like, another fun story to kind of show the NF let's negotiate is during our Thanksgiving recently, she was like concerned about all of us not really having any money to spare. Joke's on her. I'm a shadow focused INTP. Of course I got money. But she was like, well, us siblings, me, my brother, her, and we just kind of lump in my brother's girlfriend, INFP. And she was like, none of us can really afford to get all of us a gift, so what we're gonna do is gonna have a $25 cap, and the two, like, do it amongst the two brothers and two sisters, sister-in-law, close enough. And she was like, set the bar like $25. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just give Max $25. And she was like, no, you're gonna get him a gift. And I was like, no, I won't. And she was like, at least get a gift card. And I was like, no. Like, why would I give someone a gift of like money that they can use in one location when they can use it in all locations? I don't get it. And it's just like, I don't know, she's like trying to, obligate me, and I was eventually like, or I could just give him $25 and he could shut the up. Yeah. So, yeah, pragmatic versus affiliative, I love it, but that's like NFJ aggressive negotiating, so that's fun to keep in mind. I like that story. I think it really portrays a lot of family dynamics there. So what does this mean for me? Well, I'm the only introvert sensor of the family. I'm the only systematic person of the family. I am the only person that has Crusader Wayfarer mindsets. That's fun. But so let's get into me a little bit. I was basically this really frail bald kid, which I like to say that because it really is a contrast compared to now. But I grew up and my parents were kind of like there was definitely something off about me. Like I didn't talk until I was like 4. Like they were getting me to the doctor to see if I was mute or not. And I wasn't, I just didn't want to talk. Um, and then like, during like family events, like I just kind of I hated being around family events where it was like like a little baby. I my mom like actually would take me into like a guest room and we would just have just the two of us because like that was just a lot of people to be around. And it was just like oh, and then I got diagnosed with Asperger's in kindergarten, and so there was just a lot of my parents kind of had the perspective of we need to really like take care of this one, and that was mostly extrovert feeling oriented care. Oh, and other story time. Generally, like both of my siblings were like very much attention seeking all the time. Like my parents would buy them toys, and they were like, "That's nice, but like I want to play with you." And then with me, I was kind of like a nice little contrast because it's like I would literally take a piece of paper as a little kid, like a ream of paper, and just draw all day, just like almost like I was writing signatures and signing papers on a TV show, just back and just go through an entire ream a day, and it was just like wow, little me was generative as heck. Okay, that's good to know. But my dad, in particular, was like, it was cool, like, when I wanted to do stuff with, like, you know, my parents as, like, a little kid. Like, usually I would, like, stop doing what I was doing and just kind of sit on my dad's lap and just, like, for, like, 3 minutes and then just go back to what I'm doing. Because it's like, my dad kind of took it as, oh, it's like he came because, like, or I guess you came because you were, like, checking in on me, not like the other siblings where it's like they just need attention. So it's like, hey, that'll work. And I was also notorious as a little kid where it's like, if I wanted to play a game with you, that was probably your chance for the year. If you were like extended family, you were probably not going to get that opportunity again. But yeah, so definitely insanely introverted, borderline fragile in social manners, but I got a lot of like care and attention. A lot of it being extrovert feeling, especially with my mom hyping me up a lot. It's like an appeal to FI where she's like, "Oh no, you're special, you're worth something," and it's just like I don't know. It's just like it never worked. It really never worked. I would always beat myself up as a kid too, and my parents would just be kind of like, "Who's telling you this?" And it's like, "Who the heck needs to tell me this? I can formulate my own thoughts. Thank you, Jesus." But you know, that's always the fun part of an FI user being projected onto you. I got a lot of care for me, but that part of that care, I never really got a chance to reciprocate it. Like CSJ talks about that when you're a young person of your type, it's really hard sometimes to distinguish the ego and the unconscious. I never had that. I can never look at a moment in my life, and after talking to my parents about that too, there was nothing that exemplified servitude at all. And it's just like, what? Okay. Uh, I've probably been UDUF my entire life. I guess that's probably why I don't think it's that bad, is because I don't know what the difference is. And I think I was also left to my introvert intuition a good amount too, because my parents had the mentality of he will sort himself out. You know, it's like when I was in fourth grade, I was like, I want to get A's and B's like my siblings, and I was like a C student at the time, and you know, I just did that myself. Or like when I was like 5, I gave myself a bedtime and just did it. And that was kind of their mentality with me, is he will sort himself out. Which I will say, by the way, if you are raising an INTP, do not do that. No, I'm lucky. They're lucky. Don't do it. Okay, I got that off my chest. And also, a large part of unconscious developed is I really never did any volunteering or really helping out unless there was something in it for me. And I also still hold the notion that if you can't help someone out without helping yourself out, you're kind of dumb. Like, there's a lot of ways to help out. I'm sure you can find at least one that's helpful to you, but, you know, high school, I basically just played video games all day. Uh, at least 4 of these. Good times. Big fan of Pokemon. But, yeah, so, with a lot of that stuff in mind, like, you know, I was getting better at school because of stuff I wanted to do, and that kind of stuff. And also, it doesn't help that my parents are Mind Temple Templars, so I was definitely geared towards being their little autistic genius with, you know, being, you know, doing well in school and, you know, honors classes, although I cherry-picked my honors classes because I would hear, like, oh, the science honors classes are impossible. And I was like, why would I do that then? I'll go with the English one, where the English honors class is arguably easier than the general ed one. So I'll just go with that. And that was kind of my mentality. And towards the later end of high school, I was doing like robotics and a couple of art programs and stuff like that. There are many stories about those I hope I can indulge at some point. Because let's face it, this is basically like musings of an INTP, or what Jay Ackley had, where it was like the coffee house. So I guess I could just say thoughts from the mother's basement for the INTP. I think that'd work well, actually. Oh, and by the way, highly recommend you get your Octagram verified through csjoseph.life/coaching, because I thought I was subdeveloped. I was like, wow, I like helping people. I like teaching them things. And it's like, that's unconscious developed. You're using the mind temple, and it's like, oh darn. But I like to, you know, help and do things for other people. You know, and it's like, is it really servitude if, you know, if you have your own intentions? And it's like, I guess not. I never really thought I'd be the sad boy type, the, you know, the super ego focused, but here I am, and you might be surprised too. And hey, and if you don't have your Octagram verified, or your type verified, well, you can get those in one fell swoop. Highly recommend. Go to csjoseph.life/coaching. Back to the video. But unconscious developed is pretty undebatable. Now we get into unconscious focused or sub-focused, and I was, you know, always the, like, kind of gluttonous little bastard on my projects. I mentioned the paper thing. I actually don't, I mentioned generative with it, but I could see gluttony with it. I don't know, it's a weird thing. It's not like I intended to make something out of it, I think I just did it. It's like, are dumb sketches really projects, per se? Here's an idea. Because I've always been way better about doing sketches than, like, full pieces, which I assume most people are. But that is a thought for another day. But one thing that is also fun was, I mentioned, you know, the paper drawing sketches and stuff. Art is an unconscious-focused activity for, you know, an INTP. Why? Because UDUF is super ego-focused. The ISFP, the artist, this entire time, with the freaking power of these colored pencils, I was fueling the demon within me. and that's cool. But I've always been an art guy. You know, it's like in fourth grade, I like did little comics, and like I mean, I mentioned in high school, I was doing like a lot of these art programs, and my my art teacher bought like well not bought, but he convinced the education foundation to buy a 3D printer, like a $5,000 resin printer, mostly so he could print his own Warhammer figures, but he definitely relied on me to make it seem like it was for the students, and I've definitely made some cool things with that. Uh, yeah, 3D modeling is a lot of fun, and if for anyone on the Discord that doesn't know, I actually made C.S. Joseph's profile picture. This one right here. So that's cool. But yeah, art is definitely UD, or I guess UF oriented. But you know, I'm definitely unconscious developed. So yeah, UD UF, and I'm tripling down on it, man. I am going all for it. Like I've done several other projects. I've done metal melting, which I haven't done to anything that I could reasonably sell, and I'm probably just gonna save that for the summer. I've done like stuffed animals, and I have like a rug tufting gun, and I've been doing like a couple sketches with it, and I hope I have something out fairly soon. But yeah, I'm mostly just exploring right now because there's a lot of fun things to go after and just consume, or basically. And I think that's kind of just what life leads me toward, this adventure. And I'm going to stick by my guns and go for it. And this is going to be an adventure. Imagine how many tales I can tell from just being a podcast host. I'm looking forward to it. But one thing I want to say before I go is, does my family life suck? Like, CSJ's giving me his condolences on this, and I'm just like, no, we're like cool for the most part. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously there's family strains, but it's like I can't imagine how many families could truly say the siblings like actually get along. My brother and I being like a freaking dynamic duo. It's crazy. We go on like I don't know. I'm just little brother energy. It's just like, but like older brother's cool with it. Like there are very few times where he doesn't stop by the house, and he's like out to go and get like a couple errands done, like stop by the guitar center, or pick up a couple groceries, and I'm not getting my shoes on like, okay, I'm ready, man, I'm ready. And we just talk about what we're doing, and I never trade that for the world, essentially. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the C.S. Joseph podcast, and stay tuned for more. Peace.